see your shadow? You should.
So this happened quite a while ago. I was laying in bed facing the window to the backyard. I had been asleep but woke up in the middle of the night for whatever reason, and I was staring outside when I saw the silhouette of a man in a coat and a top hat walk past the window. When I tell you I about shit myself, I mean it wholeheartedly. He walks past the window and in the direction of the sliding door we have, and I hear the handle rattle as if somebody is attempting to open it. Fortunately, I'm paranoid and almost always lock the door before bed. Anyway, the way the door is situated, if someone manages to get inside, the first thing they see will be my little brother's room. So my panic kind of doubles down and I shoot up out of bed. I run out of my room and go straight to the door, ready to scream for Dad's help while I attempt to fend off this burglar. Keep in mind, I think this is an actual human being at this point. However, when I get to the door, no one is there. Straight up, the man seemingly disappeared. I was shocked, to say the least, and confused as hell. I checked outside and everything afterwards, and there seemed to be no evidence anyone was actually there. Eventually, I get to bed, and after laying awake for hours, I tire out enough to go to sleep. After a little while of sleep, my little brother comes into my room to wake me up. He says that he can hear someone in boots walking through the house and asks if it was me. So I get up and we check the place over like 1,000,000 times. You can probably surmise that, again, nothing was there. He was obviously freaked out and tweaking, so I didn't tell him what I had seen for a long time. Anyways though, the day passes and life moves on. Eventually, I even forget about the experience altogether, until me and a new friend are talking about paranormal experiences and ghosts, as it's amongst our favourite topics. The conversation ended up triggering the memory of this experience, and I told her about it. She ends up a bit rattled and tells me about an entity known as the Hat Man, and that quite a few people have seen it. Apparently it's a variant of the Shadow People, or some entity within itself, but either way I was freaked out and ended up looking into it myself. A lot of the experiences people have had with it talk about it as if it's a juiced up shadow person or evil incarnate, but I honestly just thought it was a person trying to break into the house. My parents had a friend who was a single mother of a child around my age, just a year older. Because of that, we obviously got to hang out together on multiple occasions for years on end. When we were around 7 or 8 years old, her mum let her have her first sleepover at my house. Everything was going fine until the sun went down. We wanted to be up extra late, so we snuck out of my room to play some more after my parents went to bed. After a while of sneaking around, we decided we wanted to eat some cereal. I was going through a phase where all I wanted to eat was Cap'n Crunch. Like lots of families, we had our main fridge in our kitchen and another in our basement. At the time, our basement was unfinished. It was huge, almost the size of our whole house, with 3 concrete walls and one that was made up of huge grey bricks. Our laundry room was in the top right corner, behind some wooden slat stairs, and against the brick wall. The laundry room wasn't actually a laundry room, just a corner with the washer, dryer, and the extra fridge on a square of carpet we laid out, so it was softer to stand on than the cold concrete floor when we did laundry. I was naturally terrified of the basement as a child because the corner underneath our wooden stairs had just a single light bulb hanging freely over the laundry room. The brick wall, which was to the right of the laundry appliances, also had a few huge bricks missing up by the exposed ceiling, with all the creepy tubes in pink fluffy insulation. There was a crawl space on the other side of the brick wall. Nothing really interesting, and I wasn't tall enough to see over it. But that didn't stop my child brain from imagining stuff on the other side. Obviously, I didn't want to go down there for my irrational fear of the creepy basement. So of course, we open the main fridge upstairs and realize we have no milk. My friend insists that she has to have cereal and that we should check the downstairs fridge. Immediately, I affirm that there is no way I was going down there, especially because it was dark, late at night, and it was just the two of us. Somehow though, she convinced me, and soon we were creeping down the steps. We had turned on the switch, but it was still so dark, since the only light was above the laundry corner, which was conveniently behind the staircase we walked down, lighting the way through the gaps in the steps. Once we got down there, I felt braver than ever. I got that childlike surge of adrenaline, and I thought I was the toughest kid ever. I think my friend felt the same way because as soon as we turned around and got to the laundry corner, we started sizing up the room in a "that wasn't so bad" kind of way. I continue walking to the fridge on the far left to get some milk, and she keeps standing there. At some point between my walk from the start of the carpet to the fridge, she had seen an old pile of toys we kept down in the bottom right corner, straight ahead from the top right corner we were in. I had just opened the fridge when I hear her start to scream. I turn around and she's standing directly across from me. Her mouth is wide open, her eyes slightly raised up and shaking. And she's doing what looks like high knees in place as she flaps her arms around. Just pure fear. I scream because she is, and we're both up the stairs like darts. As soon as we get to the living room, she throws herself belly down on the floor and starts kicking like a madwoman. My parents come running, of course, and think she's having a seizure on the floor. When they scoop her up, they realize that's not the case. She just starts sobbing. They ask her what's wrong, what hurts. I'm just standing there staring at her with tears streaming down my face. I've never seen someone that terrified in my life to this day, not even in horror movies. They couldn't get any response beside a hysterical, "There was a man with a hat! There was a man with a hat!" until she finally calmed down to just crying. Her mum came and picked her up, and my dad went searching around the basement for some man with a bat. I got a talking to for staying up past bedtime, and that was that. I was put back in my room, but I slept with the lights on for that night. I didn't see her ever again after that, at least not until years and years later. When I did talk to her, years later when she came up on Facebook, I found out that she had been in and out of mental hospitals for years since. But I've had a specific experience in that same house that makes me feel like she isn't crazy, but that thing made her crazy. We moved a few years after we had fully renovated the house, and I haven't been there since. But I did see him myself. A fedora tipped down so you couldn't see his face, a long trench coat, and what looked like dog-like paws with long claws, which sounds really, really strange. Just typing it out makes me think I might be insane too. A couple of years after the initial incident with my childhood best friend, when I was 10, my parents had renovated half of the basement. Now, there was 2 complete bedrooms to the left of the stairs, opposite from the laundry corner. My bedroom was moved to one of those. I felt super grown up for basically living down where I used to be scared of. And by then, I had repressed the shit out of what happened a few years prior. There was one particular night where I was up late on my laptop in my bedroom. At the top of the basement stairs, we had a very small half bathroom to the immediate right. I mean very immediate. The bathroom door and the basement door were almost touching. But anyways, I went upstairs, filled our dog's bowl, and went to the bathroom. As I'm ready to be finished, I turn towards the door and hear my dog's claws fast on the hardwood floors. They get louder and louder until I can hear my dog faceplant into the door with this huge thud. This wasn't odd, because our dog at the time was a hyperactive boxer mix, and would constantly run so fast across the hardwood that he would start sliding out of control. I see his claws scratching on the floor underneath the crack in the door. Something he does when he's impatient. So thinking he's excited to see me, I open it, and there's nothing there. I get this familiar sinking feeling in my gut. I suddenly remembered that our dog was having health issues, and we had to have him sleep in the garage at night because he would pee in his sleep. We were due to take him to the vet in the morning, but that night and the past couple, he had been outdoors while we slept. There's no way it could have been my dog. Looking down into the basement stairs, I saw it. A man stood there, at the base of the stairs. I couldn't see a face. He wore a hat, like a fedora of some sort, tipped down to obscure it. He had on a trench coat, and from out of the bottom of his two sleeves, there were these weird, dog-like claws. Just when his head started to move, I sprinted into my parents' room, screaming about the man with a hat. The memories of what happened to my friend resurfaced. I panicked, for I don't remember how long, before my dad had again swept the house, and I had been calmed down. I slept in the upstairs bedroom with the light on, like I had a couple of years before. And I'm sure they assume it was nothing but a night terror. A few years later after that, I found my old friend on Facebook. I caught up with her, asked her how things had been, etc. I always figured her mum was pissed that she was so scared of our house, and that's why I never got to see her again. It turned out that she was committed to a mental hospital not long after that night, and she had been in and out of them since. She told me about how she was diagnosed with schizophrenia, had been having seizures, visions, and night terrors. I was long out of that house by then, I should clarify. We moved after we finished renovating the basement completely and sold the house. I wanted to believe that her mental illness was an excuse for what happened that one night when we were kids. But I saw him myself, years later, just as I told you now. I don't know what this means for me. There's stuff that you think you see, and then there's stuff that you actually do. I still remember how clearly I had heard the pause, and how I had felt the forced thud of the door through the bathroom tile, and how I clearly saw some obscure man-like creature at the bottom of the stairs. A nightmare or night terror would be plausible if I had actually been sleeping up until that point. But I was wide awake on my laptop just minutes before. I guess there's just some things we just don't understand. I'm a 33 female, and have never seen anything weird in my life until this happened. I was at home doing chores on a Saturday afternoon, laundry specifically. Husband was out doing errands, and I had The Good Place playing on the TV. I had just walked through the living room from the kitchen with a load of clean laundry, and into the bedroom where I set the hamper down next to the bed and began folding clothes. I could see the television directly from the spot I was standing, as I was still following along with the show. As I'm standing there, I see a dark shadow lean down in front of the television from the right side of the screen. It turns its head inquisitively towards me. That's the impression I got from it anyways. And it just stares at me. I stared right back. It had no facial features or legs, but it was clearly wearing a fedora and a goddamn suit. I was more startled than afraid of it. Honestly, it seemed more curious than aggressive, and I really didn't know what to do but stare back. I eventually blinked and he was just gone. I finished folding the laundry and was admittedly shaking a little. I went into the living room, grabbed the PS controller, and rewound to the exact part of the show that it occurred. I thought there had to be an explanation, So I rewound and played the scene. I rewound and watched that scene from every angle of the living room, but couldn't find anything that looked like the shadow. Did some research on it and ended up on Reddit, just now deciding to share because it's been on my mind. And I don't think anyone I know would believe me. They would probably humor me to be nice, but I don't want to seem crazy. It was real, and it's obviously a pretty universal thing. So bizarre. Thanks for listening. Hello watchers and listeners. If you enjoyed that video, please hit the like button, and if you haven't already, consider subscribing. A huge thank you to all the Reddit users who allowed me to use their stories. Links to each story will be in the description below. If you have any stories you would like to share on my channel, please send them to my email, which is also in the description below. As always, a huge thank you to everyone who continues to support me. I really do appreciate it. Stay safe.